Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Inside the Foul podcast brings you episode 29 with the opinions and perspectives of a couple best friends. And if you don't like that call, we've got 3 words for you. You're out of here. We are your hosts, Chris and Ethan.
What's up?
So today we've got Ryan Vaughn, a guy who grew up in a small California town that somehow pumps out more major leaguers than most entire states. He's not a former big leaguer himself, though he'll tell you about his Little League All-Star days if you ask. But he's one of those lifelong baseball minds who sees the game a little differently. While the rest of us were arguing whether the shift should be banned, Ryan was the guy sitting in the stands asking why do they call a foul pole if it means the ball's fair. He's got the curious baseball brain. That's exactly the mindset that led him to invent what some are calling the most important piece of baseball gear since pine tar. The story involves a near injury to a rising MLB star, a late night sewing session with his wife, and yes, a prototype built out of batting gloves and gift wrap ribbon. So buckle up. We're diving into baseball quirks, the culture of the long ball, and how a pool contractor from Yucaipa may have changed the swing game forever. Here's Ryan Vaughn.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So excited to be here.
Awesome. So I was able to read your story over your website and just, everything you've done with the 9strap and the technology. Kind of want to touch on some of the things from your story, kind of get a feel for it and ask you some of them. Mainly, even though your playing days ended after high school, you've stayed deeply connected to the game. What keeps you passionate about baseball today?
It's just such a unique game. There's nothing like it. I mean, you think about sports in general, every single sport out there, let's just take basketball or tennis or volleyball or soccer. If you take the field of play and just go like that, it's a mirror image, right? Every single thing has like a half line. Baseball is not. Baseball is very, very unique in that every stadium's different, number one, right? Also, you're running one direction, right? If you hit the ball and you could run to third or run to first, and you could argue that it's got that same kind of mirror situation. It doesn't have 2 halves or 4 quarters or 3. It's literally like innings. It's just so different than any other game. But why I personally like it is I think it's just because I've been able to hang out with some people that have taught me kind of those little unique behind the scenes things that no one else sees. So if I'm at a baseball game, I can literally sit there and watch every single pitch. I really can. Where other people think this is the most boring game in the world and they'd rather just eat their hot dog, throw some peanuts down, and leave after the 7th inning stretch. I can't do that.
Fair.
That's pretty much when we go to baseball games. We're just sitting there. We'll be involved in the game. The kids will be off playing in the little grassy area, and we're all in because it's just enjoyable to us.
That's right. Agreed.
You've called yourself a fan of like quirky details. It's in a baseball skill you developed in your time working in the Angels announce booth alongside Jose Tolentino. What's one observation you've made that most fans probably miss?
Ooh, there's so many. One of the easiest things I can think of is so many people, so many fans probably think that when that outfielder is running for the ball and he takes that last second hop to catch it, the normal fan would think that player is showboating, that player is trying to make an easy catch look more difficult, where I know 100% that they are simply jumping to settle their eyes. They're just taking that last little hop to settle their eyes, because if you're running hard and your feet are pounding, your eyeballs are doing this, and it's really hard to gauge when that ball is going to hit the mitt and where it's going to hit the glove, right? And so that's just one little thing. I mean, I could go on for days. I could go on for hours of like little quirky things in the game of baseball, and why I feel like if you can just, pay a little bit more attention and ask questions, you will learn to love this game just like you and I do.
Yeah.
So you talk about in your story, July 6th, 2023. You watch Corbin Carroll nearly, separate his labrum again by finishing his swing with only the bottom hand. What was going through your head in that moment, in your thought process with that?
the only thoughts that came through my mind as I listened to the announcers, remember, I was a huge fan of Corbin Carroll. I'm always a fan of the underdog, right? I love the Boston Red Sox coming back and beating the Yankees after they're down 0-3, right? I mean, I just love little things like that. So I'm following Corbin Carroll like nobody else's business. In fact, I was at the stadium in Arizona July 5th with my brother. I just happened to be out there July 5th. And he's not the baseball fan like you and I. He's there to have some peanuts and he loves the game, but he's not watching every little detail. And I'm going, hey, Scotty, tell my brother, watch this guy. He's amazing. He's the first one in, on the field, the last one out. He hustles, he grinds. He's the shortest one on the team, but man, he's carrying the whole ball club, right? That was literally what I told him on July 5th. I get home July 6th after a long day's work, being a pool contractor. I'm laying in bed and I see this thing happen, but I listened to the announcers and what they had said was, boy, I sure hope this isn't the same injury that he sustained in 2021, 2 years prior, where he had a season-ending surgery and missed the entire year of baseball. So what's going through my head the moment I see that potential injury and I hear the announcer talking is, this poor kid can't get a break. That's literally all I was thinking was like this is so sad. This guy's on a tear, no pun intended. He's literally just carrying, the way for Rookie of the Year and potentially National League MVP. He was even in the mix for that at the time. And I'm literally thinking this poor guy cannot get a break. And I wish there was a way to ensure that players can finish with two hands, right, in game. And that was my whole goal, was just coming up with an idea to help players finish swinging the bat with two hands, not in practice, but in game, so that it didn't affect their normal routine, running to first base, for example.
Right. See, so you would say that moment sparked the idea for the 9strap. Can you walk us through like the first night of inspiration and prototyping? What that looked like with your wife?
It was like, I can't even explain. July 6, 2023, and just watching that video, most likely, if I remember, around 9 o'clock, 9:30. Remember, I had no idea that the name of the company was going to be called 9strap. I had no idea that the podcast I'm going to be on right now would be number 29. Okay, like the number 9 has just been this crazy thing for me. But anyways, that night, when I finally, right, you got to remember, I'm sitting there in my bed, just laying there going, okay, you can't handcuff the upper hand to the back because no one's going to run to first base with the bat in their hand. So that's strike one for me. And then I'm thinking, well, you can't handcuff the two hands together because they're not going to drop the bat and then run to first base like this and then get to first base and the first base coach unlocks the lock. No, that's not going to work. So that's strike two. And then I'm going, okay, Ryan, simplify it, like dumb it down. What is the constant thing that happens whether you finish with one arm or two arms? And it came to me, I said, the constant thing is that you finish, right, with the hand on the bottom. The bottom hand will never let go of the bat. So we're going to call that the sure hand. Now, if the bottom hand never lets go of the bat, how can I get that hand to help my unstable hand that wants to let go every once in a while? And I just thought, what if there was a rope or a strap or a ribbon? I had no idea it was going to be called 9strap. So I'm just thinking, okay, what if there was something that hung down, and when I grab the bat with my bottom hand, which is the sure hand, never lets go, I'm also grabbing onto that ribbon, strap, or rope, and now I can't let go. And so that night, I thought of this idea, and I'm just like, okay, that's cool. Like, it's a great injury prevention tool, right? And it was probably a few days later, and by the way, I didn't tell anyone. I just kept it in my head. I didn't want to leak it. I didn't really know of anyone that I felt could help me take it to market. I'm friends with plenty of former major leaguers. Obviously, being in the press box for a couple of years with the Angels, I had contacts, but nobody came to mind that I felt could literally help me take this to market. So I'm just laying there, put it in the back of my head, and a couple days later, I saw I think it was Contreras. Contreras gets blasted on the backswing in the head as a catcher. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this invention that I came up with a couple days ago in my mind would actually prevent catchers from getting hit too, because when you finish with two hands, you physically can't reach the catcher. With one hand, holy cow. I mean, we just performed a third-party study and found that on average, it's like 20, 25 inches is the difference of the reach back to the catcher when you release with one hand. So it's staggering. And that's when the concussions, that's when the lacerations, that's when the broken bones. I've even heard of a couple instances in high school where the poor kid died from a backswing, like an errant backswing in the cages, right? And the guy's standing on the other side of the net, bat hits him, induced coma, dead a month later. Like terrible. And so again, I'm thinking injury prevention, injury prevention. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, this would be a cool little side hustle because who's going to buy it? Maybe 2%, 3% of the market of people who are concerned about being injured or rehabbing from an injury, or my kid's a catcher, so I'm hoping that as I, support this company that hopefully catchers will be protected. The market share was not that big. So that's what went through my head. I knew it was an amazing idea. I didn't share it with anyone, but at the same time, I really had no idea of how big it would become because I didn't know all of the other benefits yet.
See, and kind of to caveat into that is my next question was, you've had some almost unbelievable coincidences, from reading your story, from former pool clients becoming partners, even Albert Pujols landing in the commissioner's office. At what point do you start feeling like it was just destiny? Like this is where it needs to happen?
Yeah, it was literally, I'd say 2.5 weeks after July 6th. So July 6th is when I thought of the idea. July 7th, 8th, 9th is when I'm kind of like internally thinking of other injuries. I thought of Tatis Jr. when he blew out his shoulder, right, out for a full year. It wasn't until later that I heard about Jordan Lawler, Andy Pages, Drew Jones, right? There's a lot of people who have destroyed their shoulder from releasing with one arm. But at the time, I'm just thinking, then I see Contreras get blasted in the head. He's got stitches and, out of the game for a couple weeks. But then 2 weeks and 1 day later, it must have been July 20th. So July 6th was the Thursday night. 2 weeks later on a Friday night is when I was scrolling through photos on my cell phone, again, like 9 o'clock, 9:30 at night. And I'm scrolling through photos that my daughter had recently taken. You got to follow me here. My daughter had recently taken photos of customers' backyards who I had built their pools for 2 to 3 years prior, because I wanted photos of backyards that had now mature landscaping. The trees were grown, the grass was grown, right? And it didn't look like a construction site anymore. It looked like someone was actually living there. So I wanted to just update my website with new photos that had mature landscaping. So my daughter had just taken photos that week. I'm scrolling through photos on my cell phone that she sent to me, and I'm deciding which photos are going to go on our website. And I'm telling you guys, I scrolled across a couple photos and I got to this one person's yard, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy will help me take that random strap idea to market. And the reason it came to mind was because I remembered that Chad Holker, a former customer of mine that I hadn't talked to in over 2 years, he was a high candidate drafted out of El Toro High School. Okay, he ended up going to University of Miami. He was a catcher, went to University of Miami, played in 2 College World Series. While in Miami, they converted him to a pitcher, kind of like several players you've probably heard of, like Troy Percival, right? Here in California, that's a common one we think about. He becomes a pitcher. He gets drafted by the Florida Marlins, goes to Florida Marlins, and gets injured. And I knew all this just from talking to him because, again, I'm a big baseball fan. I ask questions. And I remember that he played for the Florida Marlins. Then this is the key. He got injured, and he started working in the sporting goods industry for the next 25 years of his life. And I'm like, my gosh, this guy can help me bring it to market. Not only is he working in the sporting goods industry, but he's also a varsity baseball coach at a local high school in San Juan Capistrano. So my mind is like, I got to reach out to Chad. But it's late. It's a Friday night. I'm like, do I text him now? Do I wait till tomorrow? And so that night, no joke, 9:30 night, I shoot him a text. Hey, Chad, it's Ryan, your pool guy. I hope you're well. Just curious. I've got this random idea that I want to run across you. Do you have time to meet this weekend? And he writes back immediately, says, hey, Ryan, you know what? Every single weekend has been completely booked solid. Like he's got kids in volleyball and baseball and football. And he's like, but I happen to have time this weekend. It's the first time since I can remember. He goes, let's meet tomorrow morning. I said, okay, perfect. Let's meet at 9:30 at my office. Again, no idea why I was going to come up with the name 9. But anyways, I said 9:30 tomorrow morning at my office, the same office where you signed a pool contract almost 3 years prior, and we finished this pool 2 years prior. I said, let's meet there 9:30. So he's like, perfect, I'll see you then. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need a prototype. So I run downstairs, and my wife, it's kind of embarrassing, but my wife was getting ready to start a movie with our youngest son. His name is Drake. And she was getting ready, like they just started watching the movie called Ride Along. I think it's with Ice Cube and
Yeah.
I don't know, just a funny comedy, right? So she's getting ready to watch a Ride Along. And I said, Allison, I know you're going to start a movie with Drake right now. And I know it's late and I know you've had a long week, but I need your help right now. And she's like, why? What do you need? And I'm like, babe, you're not going to really understand this. Like, I'm sorry, but I just need you to help me make a prototype. It's for like a random baseball idea that I came up with a couple of weeks ago. I didn't tell you, but now I'm going to actually show it to someone tomorrow morning. And she's just like, what are you talking? Like, I've never invented anything in my life. I didn't even know what the word prototype meant. I'm just like, please, babe, if there's ever been a time that I need your help, it's right now. I need your help right now. So she was cool. She paused it. She had no idea it was going to be like 2 hours later we were going to finish with this prototype. But she went upstairs. She takes out the sewing machine. And I'm trying to explain to her, I've got these old school Rawlings batting gloves that I used playing men's softball probably 15 years ago. And I bring them out of my closet. I'm like, yeah, so it's got to have a strap and blah. And she's like, okay, maybe I can use some of this. So she pulls out some gift wrapping ribbon from her little, I don't know, craft area that she's got upstairs. And she just starts sewing this like ribbon on my batting glove. And I'm like, okay, that'll give them the concept, right? That's fine. And I'm excited. Again, I'm still thinking 2-3% market share max. But I'm still excited. I'm just like, dude, this is a great idea. I can't believe no one's come up with it before. And I can't sleep that night. It's there's a lot of adrenaline going. But I end up getting out of bed the next morning, going downstairs, tell my wife, hey, babe, can you get the sewing machine out again? Because I just thought of something. When they're done running to first base, I want it to have a Velcro piece so that the strap can come back up and not be like dangling forever, right? And so she's like, okay. So she comes back upstairs. We sew a little piece of Velcro on it. Now I'm ready to go and meet with Chad Holker. So I go and meet with Chad at 9:30 at my office. And guys, this is where like this is the meeting of my life. And I had no idea at the time. I thought it was just another like hang out with a guy that I built a pool, a couple years prior. I sit there in my chair, the same chair where I sat and talked to him and his wife about a pool, right? It's so random. And I said, okay, Corbin Carroll, July 6, 2023. Boom, boom. I also thought of Tatis Jr. I thought of catchers getting blasted. But anyways, let me show you how it works. So I stand up. I put on the batting gloves, right? And I've got this bat in my hand, right? It's an old Andre Ethier bat that I got when he played for the Dodgers, okay? And I'm standing there, and I said, watch. It's very simple. It's just boom, boom, boom. Can't let go. And he looks at me, and he's just like, do that again. Slow it down. Because it's weird, dude. Like, it just putting it in your mind. There's a lot of people that struggle on social media, like, this stupid thing can't work. And I'm like, dude, I know it's not easy to kind of think it through. It's one of those things where you got to feel it to really understand. Anyway, so I'm standing, I said, okay, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Can't let go. And he goes, do you mind if I try that real quick? And I said, no, not at all. So he stands up. And he's a right-hander, and I like to swing left-handed. But now, remember, the batting glove, it's sewn onto the left hand. So he stands up. He's like trying to figure out how to go on the right. I go, no, just leave it alone. Act like you're lefty for a minute, right? You've been in the pros. You can at least mimic a lefty. So he stands up there, and he's like, and I'm telling you guys, dude, I'm sitting in this chair watching him, and I'm going, okay, Like, this guy was not the nicest customer when we built his pool. Okay. He was very straightforward. He was very black and white, right? There wasn't much emotion about anything. You didn't know if he was happy or not. But I'm sitting there going, okay, like, it sucks because he's probably just going to tell me how stupid this thing is. But I want the truth. I don't want to go down and, like, try and come up with some idea that's just going to blow a bunch of money and time, right? So I'm like, okay, I want to watch this guy and what he's doing. So he's standing there and he's just taking his hands. He doesn't take a swing or anything. He's just looking up at the ceiling and he's just feeling his hands. And guys, he comes back, takes the batting glove off, puts the bat and the batting gloves on the table, and he goes, "You mind if I ask you a couple questions?" And I go, "No, not at all." And he goes, "You just came up with this?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And he goes, "No, no, seriously, my pool guy, like, you randomly just came up with this idea?" And I go, "Well, yeah, I mean, I played baseball in high school and I love the game, but yeah, I guess I'm just your pool guy. So yeah, I came up with this." And he's like, "And I'm the first one you're telling about this?" And that's when I knew, that's when I was like, oh my gosh, this is, like, really cool, because when he said, "I'm the first," so I'm like, well, my wife knows because she helped me make the prototype, but yeah, you're the first guy. And he goes, "Listen, you have no idea what you just invented." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I'm excited that you're going to help a few, people with injury prevention and this. That's great." It was almost like one of those, that's cute, but he's like, "That's really good. Like, I like that, but you have no idea what else this thing does." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Back in the 90s, dude, in high school, it was get in the box and swing away, right?
Yep.
It was, I knew nothing about leaking, casting, disconnecting, barrel dumping, hands inside the ball, bat speed, rolling over, palm up, palm down, knew nothing about any of that. My kids quit baseball at age 11, dude. I've not been involved in the game in a long time other than just going to games and watching and enjoying. And he starts telling me, he goes, "Listen, there are 5 things we teach hitters at the high school level. And this strap that you just randomly invented eliminates 4 immediately. And the 5th one is your legs. And I'm telling you right now, because your hands are now in sync on every single swing, your legs will be in sync on contact every time. This strap is going to revolutionize the game." And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, this is not a 2 to 3% market share product any longer. This is 100% market share, other than full-time pitchers. They're going to hate it because their ERA is going to shoot up. But other than that, everyone is a customer. So I knew right then that this was massive, that it was going to be big, but it wasn't until later, right? Until the attorney, until the patent attorney, until Albert Pools. That's, days later is when the pieces just started coming in, and so the puzzle started coming together, and I knew, like, I have to go for this. I can't sit back and just let this be one of those things that passes by.
So I have a question. What was the biggest challenge from taking the prototype to what it is now? Because I've seen what it looks like now on the website, and hearing and reading your story about the prototype, I'm like, how did that one piece of ribbon turn into this wonderful piece of technology now?
Dude, okay, so Saturday when I met with Chad, it was still a ribbon. And I'm telling you guys, stuff just was flowing through my head, just coming. And Sunday morning, I woke up, literally 24 hours later, I wake up and I run downstairs. And I thought, the ratchet straps that are in my drawer in the garage that, you tie down a motorcycle with or whatever. I ran into the garage. I grabbed a big old ratchet strap that I got from Home Depot or something. And I run upstairs and I go, "Allison, I got it. This is the next prototype we need to make. It's a ratchet strap." She goes, "Ryan, that's called webbing." And I'm like, "Okay, this is what I think we need to make the 9strap out of." And so she goes, "Okay." And I go, "Let's go to Michael's. Michael's, I think they've got leather, right? Like, they've got little arts and crafts stuff." She goes, "Yeah." So we run up to Michael's up the street. We buy, like, this little Boy Scout kit, like this little stupid little kit with leather, and we start cutting leather and cutting webbing, I guess is what it was called. And we've got a lighter. We're singeing the end so it doesn't fray. And she's got her sewing machine out. I'm almost breaking her sewing machine now because it's not meant to go through leather and 3, thicknesses of webbing. But we made our first, I'd say, 10, 15 prototypes with this same exact material. My ratchet straps leather from Michael's and her sewing machine upstairs. That's how we made the next few prototypes. But from there to making actual product was a nightmare. I'm telling you guys right now, like, try it. Just go email some people right now about, hey, I'm interested in doing some business with you, and see how many people respond to you. It's a joke. People like don't care to make money. People don't care to customer service is gone. Like, we could not get a return phone call, return email, nothing. It wasn't until like 2 weeks of me kind of moping around the house, like, I'm still waiting to hear back from so and so. And my wife's like, Ryan, tomorrow we're getting in the damn car and we're driving. And we're just going to LA. We're going to downtown Santa Ana. We're going to San Diego. We're driving all over California. And you are just going to Google industrial sewing, and we're just going to stop at every freaking place we can, and we're going to talk face to face. And I'm telling you, dude, like, she is inspired, man, because that's what we did. The next morning we're in the car and I'm Googling, and dude, you go ahead and Google industrial sewing, and you're going to find every repair shop, every sales store, every stupid thing that has anything to do with sewing, and you're going to have to weed through like 50 to get one person that actually does work, right? And we went to Huntington Park, LA, Santa Ana, Garden Grove, Chula Vista. We went everywhere, and we finally narrowed it down to a couple of people we wanted to work with. And that's how we started making our first 20,000 units. Was a combination of me driving to Tandy Leather to buy leather, driving the leather to a guy in Garden Grove to cut the leather and brand it, because before we were doing it all in my kitchen. My wife and I were. And so now we found to brand it, and then we take that to Santa Ana, and then he would sew it all together, and then I'd have to go to Santa Ana. It was like every day on the road. I put thousands of miles on my truck in the first year because we hadn't like gotten to the point where we could go overseas yet and really do some bigger orders.
That's pretty epic.
My question is, where do you see 9strap heading next? Like, both in baseball and maybe in other sports?
Great questions. You know, this thing's been probably in my pocket for over a year now. It's one of the OGs. And it's, you know, it's nice because I can carry it everywhere, and I just show everyone the concept of how it works. And every time I show it to, like, oh my gosh, you need to do this for golf. And I'm like, done. We already sell it. So, you know, we've got the golf 9strap. There's two sizes because some golfers use like the baseball swing. It's called the neutral grip. Others use the interlock grip, right? So if you do the interlock, the tail coming out the back end ends up being way too long. So I do like a shorter version, which we're now calling the interlock version. Pickleball, I randomly, another crazy coincidence, just happened to run into this guy who's a professional pickleballer at an Angels game, and he happens to be known for his two-hand backhand. It's like he is the guy when it comes to the two-hand backhand. And afterwards, we went into the parking garage across the street in I think it's College Boulevard or something. And we're in the parking garage, and I'm showing him the 9strap for baseball, and he is now in the parking garage taking two-hand rips with the 9strap, and he's like, dude, this thing can be a huge training tool for pickleballers for two-hand backhands. Because he said all these tennis players who have a great two-hand backhand are coming over to pickleball now and destroying pickleballers because all they do is slam forehand, but then they just dink backhand because they don't really know how to swing a left-handed bat per se, right? And so this tool helps lock those hands together. And I've heard from pickleballers that it just makes your swing fluid. It feels like the contact is soft, whatever that means. I'm not a pickleballer. I've also got in my patent, because I included all these sports in my patent, right? Because you have to. The only sport that they made me remove at the patent office before they issued the patent was ping pong. I tried to get ping pong in there, and they said, no, you can't fit two hands on a ping pong paddle. But golf is going really well. We're selling a lot of golf products. Pickleball, we haven't really tapped into that yet. We haven't spent a lot of marketing dollars on pickleball yet, but that'll come. And then the other sport that I think by far will take this to a whole different level that you and I probably have never thought about is a game called cricket. And I'll tell you why. Baseball, has 65 million participants across the world between baseball and softball of all ages and all levels. Cricket has 650 million participants.
Wow.
So
I did not know that.
I'm not sure if I want to be in the game of manufacturing cricket products, because I don't really know anything there. But I am open to licensing it out to a cricket manufacturer who makes the big. I don't know if you've seen the gloves. They look like hockey gloves. They're just big, thick gloves, and the strap obviously needs to be big and wide and everything else. But I'd rather just license it out. I think at this point to the big cricket players in the game and just get a licensing fee. Speaking of licensing, because you're asking about what's next for 9strap, my initial thought with this was I want to sell 9straps. That's all I want to sell. And I want to license out my technology to batting glove companies. Okay? That was my whole idea. I did not want to make batting gloves. I didn't want to compete. I just wanted to be this nice company that offers the 9strap. And by the way, if you want to utilize my technology, my patented technology, I'm happy to do so. Let's work out a licensing agreement. I'll get paid a few bucks every single time you sell a pair of batting gloves with my technology. So I got to meet with, thanks to Harold Reynolds and some very good introductions, I was able to meet with the dudes at Franklin. I had some serious meetings with them. Okay. And I also got to speak with the father of Bruce Bolt. So Bear is the founder, the kid that started it.
Yeah.
His dad is Gard, Gard. All right. So I got to speak with Gard on a couple occasions. And you got to remember, Franklin, Bruce Bolt, they're not friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Obviously. But the crazy thing is, after having the meetings with Franklin, after sharing the idea with Bruce Bolt and talking with them independently, because again, my idea was not to compete. My idea was to license it out. And I was even willing to do like an exclusivity agreement for the first couple years, right? Do something where I will only license it to you, and both of them independently gave me probably to the same exact response. They said, you know what? We're going to pass for now. And I'm like, dude, they wanted me to go out and prove the concept first and spend all this money and show how effective it is. And then they'll come and join. And then they'll maybe discuss. And I'm thinking, dude, I can't sit around and wait, number one. And number two, I'm not going to go prove the concept and then offer you the same deal. So I had no choice. They kind of forced my hand. And this is the future right here. So these are the very first prototypes of the patented 9strap integrated batting gloves. And I'll show you how it works. It's pretty cool. So here's my bat. Let's say I'm a lefty and I'm up right here, right? Here's the gloves, boom. And here's the cool thing. When I pull this strap down, you won't even see the change. It just completes the logo, okay? So now the strap's down, and I grab it with my bottom hand, and now whether I want a box grip or I want to line up my door knockers, anything, it is literally just cinching my hands together, locking them in place, and now the 9strap is integrated. It's inside the glove, and it cannot and it will never slip off or come off or go out of position or anything like that. And it's amazing. So that is the next step. Will I license it out to other glove companies? Maybe. It's not going to be the same opportunity it would have been a year and a half ago before I started selling the product. But I'm open to, talking to these guys again. It's just unfortunate. I seriously wish. I know I'm going to make a lot more money this way, but that's not what it's about. I really wish that I could have worked out a deal from the very beginning and never become a competitor. That's what I honestly wish.
Yeah. Now, as someone that has a small child, are y'all going to make those in youth sizes?
But yeah, 100%. We're starting out with, I want to say we're starting out with, because we offer 12 sizes in the 9strap. from youth extra small all the way to adult triple XL. And I want to say my first PO is from youth small to adult double XL. So I think it's going to be 10 sizes in the beginning instead of 12. So no big deal.
Yes. Okay. So I have a odd question. Have you ever seen a player use the 9strap in a way that you didn't expect?
Yeah, absolutely. Some pretty cool stories actually. There's been a couple of kids. One of them was severely injured in a car accident. Lost like I think 3 fingers. I mean, it's bad, right? And he's 11, 12 years old. He's not going to swing, any differently than he did before. He learned as a right-hander, so he's always going to be a right-hander, right? But unfortunately, his let's see here, how did it work? Um, his I think it was his left hand, I believe, that's damaged. So something where like he's using it opposite, right? So he's basically putting it like this backwards to keep the injured hand attached. Yeah, so his left hand's injured, so he puts it on his left hand, holds it out with his right, and now when he swings, it's helping his bottom hand stay attached to the bat, as opposed to only, I mean, before that, he's literally just get up to bat and swing like this because he can't even grab it. I think it was like a finger and a thumb is all he had, right? And and then not long after that, I heard from a coach. He's like, dude, your product has changed this kid in my batting facility. It's changed his life. He was a fire victim and he burned like mangled his hand. And the 9strap allows him to grip the bat better and keep both hands on the bat. So they use it opposite, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, absolutely.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty epic.
Has there been any like big league player or college program or coach who surprised you by picking it up and using this?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because it goes back to just connections and people. I was at the winter meetings. Winter meetings. I just again showed up. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never been to the winter meetings before, and I just showed up to Nashville, Tennessee. So it was 2 winter meetings ago. It's before I even launched, product. I hadn't even sold anything yet. I was just showing up with some prototypes, and my goal was to meet Harold Reynolds. I just thought, man, if I can meet Harold Reynolds, that guy, he's just a great personality. He's the face of baseball, in my opinion. And so I wanted to meet Harold Reynolds, but um, just hanging out in Media Row, man. Next thing you know, I'm surrounded by Eduardo Perez, JP Arancibia, um, uh, D-Row, what's his name? Uh, MLB Network. D-Rose, he's coaching USA Baseball. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mark Teixeira.
There you go, Teixeira. Mike, no, Pat Murphy, Brewers. I mean, I'm surrounded by these people because I'm telling the story. And as I'm telling the story, they're waving more people over here. Get over here. Carlos Vallarga, get over here. Pat Murphy, get over. You got to hear this. And it was insane. And I'm just telling the story. And these guys are like, well, how'd you come up with 9? Why number? Pat Murphy's a huge guy that loves the number 9 for some reason. I don't know why. He just says he loves the number 9. And so I'm sitting there explaining the story of how I came up with 9strap, right? So it was a dinner shortly after we'd made the next round of prototypes. So that was like a Sunday. And now Tuesday, my wife and I are dinner at a little fish taco place here in San Clemente called Wahoo's Fish Tacos. And my wife's talking and talking and talking. And she's like, just, the kids and life and everything. And I'm daydreaming about this new crazy idea I came up with. And I cut her off. I said, babe, I got it. And she goes, got what? And I said, I got the name. And she goes, okay, what is it? I said, it's 9strap technology. She goes, okay, why? Where'd you come up with this? And I took the 9strap prototype out of my pocket and I set it on the table and it made a 9. And I said, listen, it makes a 9, and in baseball, there's 9 innings, there's 9 players in the field, and there's 9 players in the lineup. It's a very unique number to baseball. That's why it's going to be called 9strap technology. And she goes, okay, I get the 9strap, but why technology? And that's when I told her about integrating it into a batting glove and licensing it out and all this. So I'm explaining the story to Pat Murphy and Eduardo Perez and Mark DeRosa and all these guys, and And it was just epic. And next thing you know, I turn around and Harold Reynolds is coming off the stage from like one of their little MLB pieces. And my wife's with me, and we just go straight to Harold. I said, Harold, I got to talk to you. I've got this idea. I've got this new, invention that I came up with, and it's literally going to revolutionize the game of baseball. And he's just like, yeah, whatever. Like he hears this crap all the time. And dude, next thing you know, I pull it out, I show him, and I said, look, dude, and we're walking. I'm just walking with him. Like, I don't know where you're going, but I'm going with you. And so I'm just showing him, like, look, dude, can't let go. And when you put it on, I'm like, just, the 2-minute pitch. I'm like, look, when I grab it with the bottom hand, the top hand cinches down, right? You can see it cinch down. It immediately increases bat speed. It keeps your hands inside the ball. Your body, I'm just freaking out. Like, I get to talk to Harold Reynolds, and all of a sudden he stops, and he's like, let me see that. So he starts putting it on. He's a right-hander. He's putting it on his right hand. He's just like, same thing, dude. Every pro does the same thing. And next thing you know, he's like, you guys are with me. Let's go. And I'm like, what? And he's like, I want to be an investor. And I'm like, bro, so we're walking, and he's got Don Mattingly on the phone. He's like, Don, there's this guy that invented this product, and it literally forces you to hit exactly how you coach. It's got the Ted Williams swing. It does everything. And he's calling. Next thing you know, he's got Fernando Tatis Jr. on FaceTime, and he's like, Tatis, I met the guy that can literally save your shoulder. You're never gonna blow your shoulder out again. And Tatis is in the Dominican Republic, right? And he's like, oh, okay. And his dad's in the background throwing BP. And Harold Reynolds hands me his phone, and I'm on the phone in Spanish because hablo español, I speak Spanish, and I'm talking to Fernando Tatis Jr. and I'm showing him like, look, dude, you're never gonna hurt your shoulder again, blah blah. It was like this honeymoon phase, right? It's just incredible. We're freaking out. I'm freaking out, and Harold's like, I'm hungry. Are you guys hungry? I'm like, yeah, let's go eat. And he's like, okay, I don't have a car. I go, you're coming with us. So we get in our rental car, dude. And we're driving. It's called the Gaylord, like some weird hotel. They got a big.
They go
mall
in Lower
nearby,
Palms,
right?
yeah.
Let's go to the mall. We're going to the food court. I feel like Panda Express. That's what Harold Reynolds chose. And I'm like, okay, so of course we park on the wrong side of the mall. We're walking. We're doing the whole freaking loop, right? We finally get to Panda Express. Fans are stopping along the way, wanting a picture with Harold. We get to Panda Express. And we're sitting there, dude, and he's just like, this is unbelievable. Like, we're just chatting. It's my wife and I and Harold, and we're just like chatting. And he's like, dude, this is incredible. This is next level. Like, he goes, I remember, I think Bruce Bolt came to the winter meetings like several years ago, and that was like the beginning of them. He goes, this thing's next level. Like, this invention is insane. And he goes, what's your pitch? How are you going to talk to people? I said, I don't know. Like, I go, I've heard things like this is the greatest invention since pine tar. I've heard from people that this is, he goes, that's it. He goes, this is the greatest invention since pine tar. I like it. He goes, listen, when I'm on MLB Network, I don't sit there and go, Ohtani does this and Ohtani does that and Ohtani does this and Ohtani does that. That's why Ohtani's the best player ever in the game of baseball. He goes, no. I say, Ohtani is the best player ever in the game of baseball. And here's why. Boom, 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 boom. He goes, that's how you do it. You need to tell people this is the greatest invention since pine tar. And here's why. Boom, boom, boom. So he's giving me all this great advice. And next thing you know, he's lining me up. He's like, dude, you need to go to ABCA. It's America's Baseball Coaches Association. They've got a trade show. And he's like, you got to go. I'm going to get you in touch with Dan McDonald. He got me on the docket last year and had me speaking. He'll get you on stage. You'll be speaking. And I'm like, I'm going to be speaking at this trade show, whatever. And then he's like, I'm going to get you lined up with Franklin. Let's go back to, the Gaylord, and let's go meet the guys at Franklin. I'm going to introduce. I mean, he was insanely kind. He's introducing me to Andre Dawson. He takes my wife and I backstage where they do the lottery draft, and all the coaches are up on the panel. It's literally Harold, Stone, a couple other guys, the whole panel on stage, and some country guy, a big time country artist. He was like the guy that was drawing the names out, and my wife and I. That's it. Everyone's got these lanyards, And my wife and I don't. We're just following. Harold Reynolds is taking us everywhere. Okay, it was incredible. Oh, Brad Paisley, that's who it was. Brad Paisley. And so we get to meet Brad Paisley. We're getting our picture taken. I mean, you got Aaron Boone up there. You got everyone's there, dude. And my wife and I are just like on cloud nine, like, what are we doing? You know, this is amazing. And so next thing you know, I'm reaching out to Dan McDonnell, and Dan over at Louisville's like, this is pretty cool. But just so you know, when I got Harold on the docket, as Harold called it, that's because we won the World Series. And so now we had this opportunity to speak, and it was up to us who we wanted to speak with us. So that's why we got Harold Reynolds. He goes, we didn't win the College World Series this time, so I'm not in charge of that anymore. But I'm going to put you in touch with my hitting coach. His name is Eric Snyder. And this guy is going to eat this thing up. He's an old school guy, blah, blah. Next thing you know, I'm in touch with Eric Snyder, and everyone at Louisville now is using the 9strap. Harold Reynolds introduces me to DC, Darnell Coles, hitting coach for the Washington Nationals. So a bunch of the guys on the Nationals are training with the 9strap. I'm good friends with Jose Tolentino. His son is AAA with the Cleveland Guardians. He's showing it to players in the minors. He even showed it to Josh Naylor. And Josh Naylor, this is a crazy story. Josh Naylor's like, oh my gosh. He goes, this is genius. He goes, but I can't use it. I like to finish with one arm. And what happened to Josh Naylor a couple weeks ago, guys? You remember?
Yep.
Pulled himself out of the lineup. He's this close. I hate to say it, but he's this close to doing something really scary to his arm. And I don't want to see it, man. I wish he would use the 9strap. But anyways, so Cleveland, I'm good friends with Dave Hansen. Our kids played T-ball together 15 years ago. I never met the guy in my life till our kids are on the same T-ball team. And, Dave Hansen lets me go out to the Reds facility in Arizona, and I'm sitting there with Eric Davis and these other guys, and they're now trying the 9strap. It's been incredible. So are there people using it at other levels? Absolutely. In game, only one person so far that I know of, and that was Luke Voigt. Because remember, I met JP Arancibia when we were surrounded by like Pat Murphy and Eduardo Perez, all these people. JP Arancibia invited me to their spring training facility in Florida, and I'm down there in the batting cages with Eric Chavez, with Luke Voigt at the time. He was with the Mets during spring training. Dude, I'm just sitting there in this like batting cage surrounded by all these pros, right? And Luke Voigt is using the 9strap, and he's crushing the ball. And he comes out of the cage, and I said, what'd you think? And he looks at me and goes, I freaking love it. And I go, okay, let's chat. He goes, well, let me use it in game tomorrow, and then we'll kind of see where it goes. I said, okay, man. I said, I'm looking for dudes who want to wear this thing in game, you know, at the major league level, because that would be something that would help me, and I'm willing to talk to you about a little piece of ownership or whatever. He's like, okay, let's see how it goes tomorrow. Guys, the next day, I'm at the stadium, and I'm sitting behind home plate. I got my camera out. My buddy's up kind of at the first base side. He's got his camera out. We want to get multiple angles. This guy comes up, dude, and they're like, now batting, first Luke Voigt. And this guy comes up, and he's got this freaking strap hanging from his hand, dude. I'm like, oh, my gosh, this is incredible, dude. He comes up, dude. It's bases loaded, one out. And I'm thinking, no way. Like, there's no way he hits home run right now. Like, there's no, like, this would be too good, right? He gets up there, guys, and he smashes the ball. And my heart drops. And I'm trying to film. My buddy's filming. And, dude, warning track, sacrifice fly, RBI. If it would have gone like 5 more feet, dude, it would have been like first time ever using the 9strap in a major league game, home run. Like, of course, that would have been too easy. Now, that's happened for several baseball and softball players where literally not even BP, dude. There was a kid, I don't know if you care to hear this story, but Mission Viejo, there's a tournament, and there's teams from all over the country, and there happened to be this team from Arizona. And someone introduced me to the coach, and the coach is like, okay, come to our game tomorrow. We play at Mission Viejo at like 9 a.m. So I drive to Mission Viejo. I get there. I show up, and the teams are warming up, and it's like awkward. I'm like, do I just walk out on the field? Like, what do I do, you know? Well, too late. Game's starting now. The coach sees me. I go, hey, I brought a couple for the players. He goes, oh, yeah. Hey, Noah, come here. Noah's on deck. There's a guy up to bat. Noah's on deck. And then he goes, Caden, come here. Caden's in the hole. Noah's on deck, and he's like in the on deck circle. He's like, I like this. Noah gets up, smashes a single to left center. He's just like, he's on first base. He's like, oh my gosh, this thing's sick. He's yelling. He's going crazy. Next batter, Caden Hammond, sophomore. Never used the 9-strap in his life. He's a big kid, but he's a sophomore, dude. And he's playing varsity baseball in Mission Viejo for this high school called Highland High School. He gets up to bat, gone. First freaking time he's ever used the 9-strap in his life, hits a bomb. It was incredible. And I've since gotten texts and messages and emails from coaches, players, parents who very, very, very similar experiences. It's been magical.
That's awesome. So one thing I thought about when I saw this and everything online was one of the most iconic one-handed swings out of any player I've ever seen was Ken Griffey Jr. Okay.
100%.
If you had the choice of putting the 9-strap in the hands of any MLB player, past or present, who would it be and why?
Ooh. I would want to put it in someone who already finishes with two hands so they're not having to change anything, right? Because all it's going to do, as Dan Snyder says, or Eric Snyder says, is it's going to clean everything up, right? And it's just going to increase power. So, I've met with Albert Pujols. The guy loved it. He's like, this is amazing. He goes, I wouldn't have used it personally because I trained, I learned to swing and finish with one arm. He goes, but Ryan, I'm telling you right now, I've never told the coach this. I've never told the trainer this. And by the way, I flew to Atlanta to meet with Albert Pujols because it was during the playoffs and he was, helping out with TBS or something. And so TNT, TBS, I fly out to Atlanta. I'm sitting in the Four Seasons Hotel in the lobby with Albert Pujols, and I didn't want to check a bag on the plane, so I went to a local Target and picked up whatever bat I could. It's a little T-ball bat, and I'm in the lobby of Four Seasons Hotel showing Albert Pujols how this thing works. And he goes, listen, I've never told anyone this. I've never told a coach. I've never told any of my trainers. He goes, but I've definitely felt it. He goes, I never tore my labrum. I don't know that I have any injury. He goes, but I've definitely felt in my shoulder. He goes, this thing is pretty genius. So that was a really cool experience to kind of show with Albert Pujols. But to answer your question, because I would love to get it in the hands of someone who already finishes with two hands, he's not changing anything other than just increasing his bat speed. I would love to get it in the hands of Bryce Harper. That would be my guy.
Ooh,
Bryce
okay.
Harper would be incredible. There's
My luck
several
would be a
guys.
Braves game.
There's several guys that finish with two hands that I think would love it. You got Freddie Freeman. You got who's the guy on the Mets? Little shortstop. He's a good one. Schwarber, Otani, Trout, like all these guys, they finish with two hands. And sometimes I hear from people, oh yeah, I like to have, the ability to reach, to get that ball in the outside corner. I'm like, dude, watch these guys. These guys that finish with two hands, they'll hit the ball 3 inches off the plate, no problem. What are they doing? They're waiting, allowing the ball to get deeper in the zone, and they're driving it opposite field instead of lunging and rolling over with one arm. That's the difference. So Bryce Harper would definitely be the guy that I would love to just allow him to swing 10 swings without the 9-strap, 10 swings with, and let's see the difference.
I can't wait to see my son get it because the biggest thing I've had to get with him is one moment he'll finish with both hands, the next moment he lets go of it, and I'm ready to like throw something at him,
Listen, I begged him with laps. I was like, dude, I'll make you a run on a lap, and I'll run a lap if you finish two hands. I think he's at 10 laps ahead of me now because he finishes with one hand. I'm like, kid, you're killing me. Wow. So I have a question. Where do you see 9-strap in the next 5 years?
Well, there's some big things that are about to happen. Obviously, the batting gloves, I told you about that. There's something even bigger that I can't talk about yet. I wish I could, but it's going to be massive. I would say in the next 5 years, I would say someone's going to be approaching me probably the next couple years for, I don't know, 9 figures. I really do see that. I see that this thing is going to be so big that, you look at the international market, you look at cricket, You look at batting gloves. I mean, there's just so much potential for this thing to grow. Do we get involved with the hand guards and the elbow and the leg? I mean, maybe. I mean, at the end of the day, this is definitely becoming more of a brand as opposed to just a product like I originally thought. Um, I'm telling you right now, guys, I would have been perfectly happy just keeping this thing as a product and licensing out the technology. I truly wish that would have happened because R&D and the risk and getting inventory and building this thing up, it's not easy, man. Running a business like this is not, it's no joke. And so I truly wish that that would have happened, but that ship has sailed and we're now becoming a brand, and I see us offering a lot more products other than just the 9strap. And I do think this will be 100, 200, $300 million company someday.
So I have a question that's probably never been asked, but if you could give advice to someone trying to get into the baseball industry, what would you tell them?
Dude, I mean, you better have something very, very, very unique because you're either going to need a hell of a lot of money and just some serious, what is it? You're going to need a very, very strong work ethic. You're going to need a very, uh, you know, amazing spouse or partner, someone that's going to help keep you going. Because even with something as unique as this, with something that's never been invented before, something that literally we've sold thousands of, and we have less than a 1% return rate, and we offer a full money back guarantee. Our return rate is less than 1%, guys. And it's not because of this or that. It's because it works. That's all there is to it. It works. And so even with a product as unique as the 9strap, even with something that works immediately, this isn't something that you're going to feel the difference in a couple weeks or a couple months. It's the very first swing you take, you're going to feel it. Even with all that said, it is extremely difficult. And I'm telling you right now, a lot of it is just dealing with who I call Uncle Ricos. Have you guys heard of that term yet from me? Have
Yes.
you read any comments? Okay. So there are, I never knew. I mean, again, I coached my kids. I was with them through age 11. I never did the travel ball stuff. I never dealt with these dads that stand there, they don't sit on the bleachers. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that stands because I freaking know everything. And I was, one injury away from going pro, or I was, one half an inning. If coach would have just put me in that last time, I would have been in the bigs. My best friend was roommates with this guy, and he was the dad of I mean, everyone's got their stupid story, and they all stand there like this, right? And they just think they know everything, and all they do is brag about their kid and why this. These guys are Uncle Ricos, man, and there's a lot of them, and it's tough because they think they know everything. And my thing to them is this: you might have known everything about a year or two ago, but since the 9strap came out, you don't know it. You don't know everything. And I wish they would just simply give it a try because with a money back guarantee, you have nothing to lose. But there's so many people, man, their pride, their ego gets in the way, and it prohibits them from trying it. And their poor kid is going to be left in the dust. But I will say, anyone trying to get in the baseball market, beware, man. These guys are ruthless. Like
Yes.
they can sit there online and talk all the trash in the world without ever even touching or seeing the product. And I'm just like, guys, don't be an Uncle Rico. Try it. It's got a full money back guarantee. You can try it. And if you purchase it and it fits properly, it's nice and snug, and you use it properly, I promise you, you will see or feel the difference, whether it's your kid using it or you immediately.
So I am probably one of the biggest advocates that you've never met about your product. Okay.
Wow.
So no lie, I came across your products because I was like, when we started this, I was like, I would rather interview than talk about baseball because I coach baseball. So I talk about it 5 nights of the week. I said, I want to find a product that I can be like, this is the person I want to interview because this product changes the game. I found your product at 11:30 at night one night, and I text both of our other buddy that's not here. I texted him. I said, I officially found the product that as a coach, I could sell you guys this product, and I don't even own one yet. And they're like, what do you mean? I said, I read the story and woke my wife up and said, we need to buy one of these, but it's in the off season, so I don't want to just sit here and go, she's going to use it five swings a day and then take a break and then do 5 more swings. I said, I need this product. And they're like, how great is it? I said, I woke my wife up. I said, this product, I said, in the right hands is going to change baseball. I said, all those swings that we complain about, finish with 2 hands, you'll hit the ball harder. I said, this is the product that I can be like, all right, I can just finally sit on a ball bucket and not have to worry about anything. And they're like, how great is this? I said, those dads that get on our nerves that say their kid knows how to swing, I said, they're going to go sit down. They're going to sit down and let us finally do our job. With this tool, our job's going to be easy because they're going to do exactly what they need to do the first time with their swing. I said, it might take them a couple times to get used to it. I said, but every kid at the park needs one of these. And they're like, really? I said, yeah. I said, this is the one host. And it's ironic that my dream is to interview Harold Reynolds and your dream was to meet Harold Reynolds. So I think it's pretty epic that we both want to meet the same person and kind of a little jealous that you got to meet Harold Reynolds. But yes, no, I advocate your product all the time because every time I'm like, when our schedule didn't realign, I was like, guys, this is the one guy. I said, even if I have to do this without you, send me your questions because I need this product. And my wife goes, now that she's out of T-ball, you can order it. I'm like, all right, green light now. It has begun.
That's so good, man. I appreciate it. I tell you, that's why I encourage people to read the story because it just it proves that I guess what I'm saying is you can clearly see that I'm not the guy that was just trying to work his way into baseball and find something stupid to find a reason to be involved in the game. Like I had no clue that this is where I'd be sitting, 2 years ago. No clue. I thought I was just going to build pools until I retire and be done. I had no idea. And so when people read the story, they clearly see that this is something who would just like put all that on hold and go, start a whole new career and company for this stupid little thing if it didn't work, right? So it just kind of like gives that special endorsement that I'm not one of those Uncle Ricos that was just trying to get in the game. This is something that just it was meant to be, man. I've got no other explanation other than I was put like in this situation at this time to make this happen, and I'm just so grateful for it. It's been amazing.
I know that I'm kind of glad other companies passed on your idea because you are the right person for this thing. Your passion for it. When he started reading your story, I said, you're kind of going to want a tissue because I said, he sells you this product and you don't even know this man, but you want to shake his hand and go, you've changed our lives just by making a product that saves our kids' shoulders in the future.
That's amazing, man. I appreciate it. That's so cool. I tell you, man, I get comments, I get emails, I get stuff, and there's been a few tear jerkers myself. There's been parents that have literally said that I've changed their kid's life, and I'm like, what? I had no idea. It's just been so rewarding. I mean, all those downtimes, right, guys? Going to spring training and having this idea that, like, dude, I met face to face with Harold Reynolds. I'm going to meet Bryce Harper tomorrow, and then striking out, and then going back to the hotel room, and your wife's not there, dude. I was on the road 41 out of 45 days the first spring training that I had prototypes in hand. All I wanted to do was just go meet people, right? And there were days that were highs, like meeting Luke Voigt and him almost hitting a home run, and there were days that nothing accomplished, and I felt like such a freaking failure, and you're back in the hotel just like, what am I doing in Florida, hundreds of miles away from home, and like, is this worth it, and so to get these rewarding comments and emails and you just saying the things you just said, it makes it all worth it. It really does. The money, that's great, but the fact that like this is getting the headway, the steam that I could have never imagined has just been amazing. It really has.
So I have one last question for you. If time and money weren't an issue, what's your dream piece of equipment you create next?
Wow. People ask me about it a lot. They're like, dude, this is great for, hitters injuries, right? But like, can you ever come up with something for pitchers? And I don't know. I mean, I was a pitcher, so that would be kind of nice if I invented a product for my own people, right? Um, but I don't know. I had a really, really, I don't know. I think about it a lot. If there was a way to help eliminate, the need for Tommy John or shoulder surgery for pitchers, of course, that'd be great. It, I personally think it goes back to what you probably read in my story, which is the long ball culture is just kind of changing everything, man. And you look at the kids that are swinging out of their butts every single time, and maybe it's fine at age 10 or 11 or 12. But when you start getting into high school and college, I can't tell you how many people I've met who have had shoulder surgery in high school from swinging the bat, not from pitching, right? Um, it's mind blowing. So I think that pitchers, they're getting drafted, they're getting recruited to throw heat, and that's it, right? And unfortunately, that's what they're going for. They are, because that's going to be their future. Now, will their future be short? Yeah, it probably will be, because you can only throw 100 miles per hour so many times before your shoulder or your elbow give out, right? And so I wish that the long ball culture would kind of like dial itself back a little bit. And I wish people were looking more at, like the Greg Maddoxes of the world, and how to strike out anyone with just being crafty and how to mix things up and keep people off balance. Like, that was cool baseball, man. I'm not saying I hate the game today, but it's changed tremendously. Think about the shift, guys. Let's go back to that. I mean, if you think about, these are pros, these are guys that should be able to do anything and everything. And it gets to a point where the league has to reverse the shift and not allow it. I mean, why can you not hit the ball opposite field and get a single or double every single time? Because the third baseman and the shortstop are out of your way. I mean, it doesn't seem that difficult. But at the end of the day, they could do it if they wanted, but they want to hit the long ball. That's what people want to do. They want to hit the ball out of the park every single swing. And with pitchers, they want to hit the radar gun. They want to hit the. So will there be a product someday? I don't know. I've seen a lot of things that people say, oh, this and that. That's great. I tend to believe if something's invented, it's gonna be in the legs. It's gonna be in the feet. Believe it or not, I think that might be the area of where you're going to be able to help kids eliminate shoulder and elbow injuries, because I've been told by doctors and coaches that it's the deceleration is where the injuries happen. It's not the throwing, it's the slowing down. A quarterback coach told me about that. And so that got my mind thinking. I think it's going to be somewhere in the feet, in the legs, on the rotation. I could be wrong. So I don't know. Is this going to be a one, type invention that I come up with? Probably, maybe. I don't know. But we're gonna definitely take it to every single level and every single avenue we can. Whether it's batting gloves, whether it's cricket, whether it's elbow guards, hand guards, everything else. We're gonna keep growing this thing into a brand and not just one product. Will I be able to help pitchers one day? I don't know. We'll see. Great question, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate for your time today.
Thank you.
It's been incredible, man. I really appreciate you guys having me on. I just love sharing it. It's if it didn't work, if people weren't buying it, if it sucked, if it was one of those things that takes 3 months to figure out and get used to, believe me, this would have been dead a long time ago. I wouldn't be spinning my wheels, wasting my time. But here we are, a year later, year into sales, 36,000 units sold, less than 1% return rate, almost $1.5 million in sales, and all I'm doing is ramping up with inventory because it's going to go big. So I appreciate it.
So, side note before I let you go, are there going to be pink batting gloves? Because that's going to be the one question my daughter has. Does it come in pink, Dad?
Yeah. So the first round of batting gloves will be all black with different colored logos. Okay.
Okay.
So
sweet.
Bright pink is definitely one of the colors that's going to come. A couple of blues, like a baby blue and a royal blue. I didn't want to do navy blue because it's too close to the black. Red, yellow, like a lime bright green, Can't remember what else. I think it's like 6 or 7 colors, but pink is one of them for sure.
Sweet. Okay, she'll be happy.
So, like I said, I appreciate you for your time and coming and joining us. To our viewers, if you guys want to see what all the fuss is about, head over to 9strap.com. That is the number 9strap.com. And hey, maybe save yourself a shoulder surgery down the road. A big thanks to Ryan for joining us. Thank you for listening. And if you like the episode, subscribe, drop a review, or just send it to that one friend who thinks they're a hitting coach after 2 beers. We'll be back next time with more stories from the world of baseball. Until then, keep your hands together, keep your swing short, and remember, chicks dig the long ball, but pitchers dig the double play.
There you go. Love it. Thank